Hi, I'm Codie Elaine Oliver, co-creator of Black Love. Shout out to my co-creator and husband, Tommy. And this is My New BFF, the podcast where I have candid conversations with people that I deeply admire and get to know them beyond what they're known for in the world. Today on our show, I am joined by Ashley Chea, who is actually one of my best friends. Ashley and I have gotten very close in the 3 years we've known each other, but there's one topic we have not discussed, though it touches both of us: grief. We are getting deep, but we're definitely about to kiki, and you will see why Ashley is my BFF. So stick around. Ashley is a wife, an Ohioan, a mother of three, an author, a writer going into television and film, a homeschooler, and she was on Black Love with her husband, Chea, Brian Chea, but everybody calls him by his last name. And her children's book, Beautiful Me, is about celebrating diversity. But there's many, many more things. There are many, many more things to come from Ashley as far as being a writer. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi, long time.
You forgot that I'm also a former ballet dancer, honey.
Yes,
that's also important.
Ballet dancer. It is important. I know that's
I've
important.
lived many lives.
Yes, you have. So I'm going to start with how we know each other, which obviously you were on Black Love, but
Right.
more specifically, that was the first season. So I was like, we were interviewing people that we knew or friends of people that we knew. And also I'm sure I was researching online, but I came across your blog some kind of way, Facebook or Instagram, something. And your blog, Watermelon Egg Rolls, wasn't the blog the same name as Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, Watermelon Egg Rolls. Yep.
And you were talking about, I think you guys had just gotten engaged. And so I'm gonna intro you from what I knew of you at that time,
Okay.
right? So at that time you were dating, just engaged to the father of your daughter, who at the time was what, 8? Was she 8?
No, she was 5 when we got engaged, 6 when we got married, something like that.
So she was 5 when you got engaged, 6 when you got married, and you were moving to California. So that was kind of all I knew about you. And I was like, oh my God, and that he was Asian, right? And I'm like, oh my God, they're moving to California. Maybe we can interview them. And so I reached out, you responded very quickly. I think we just set up the interview. And in your email to me before we met you, you were like, the questionnaire that I sent asks how many kids you have. And you were like, we have 1, but secret, I'm 3 months pregnant. And I don't think I said anything in the email. When I got there, I was like, oh my God, I'm 3 months too, or whatever. I think you were 4 and I was 3 months. But anyway.
Yeah.
That was like, that did it. Besides the fact that I low-key already fell in love with you before we met, that was like, now we're pregnant at the same time. Strangers.
I know. It was meant to be.
It totally was. And that was the beginning. We have not parted since.
No, I just love you so much. Like literally your smile when I met you and I opened up the gate, you just smiled and I was like, I love her. You're just so nice. You just have a good spirit. You really do.
Well, I appreciate you saying that now, but sometimes you be saying that like a weapon. You're like, you too nice. Why are you so nice?
You are though, but sometimes the things that we love about people are the things that, sometimes I don't dislike it about you, but you and Chea we always talk about this. You and my husband are very similar spirits. And I feel like you guys are too nice sometimes. And I'd be wanting y'all to just like backhand somebody a couple times.
I'll take it. You and Tommy have that super direct,
we do,
with love kind of communication as well. So,
but it's needed.
That part. So even though we are, this is about getting to know you and really specifically, I'll jump into our very special topic shortly. But me being who I am, love is why I do everything I do. I am curious, this is what I ask all my guests. I am curious, who taught you the most about love? Anybody in your life or not in your life?
Oh, that's hard. Well, I would say 3 people. 4.
Ooh,
a lot.
Abundance.
I would start with my first initial biggest lesson of love I learned through my mother and father, because they're not together, but they raised me and my sister, co-parented really well. And my mom babysitting my step or half siblings, it just that taught me, especially when I got older, I realized how deeply my parents really loved me and my sister, because they never, or we weren't old enough to know, they never put their personal feelings before us having a good childhood and just feeling loved as children.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just seeing my parents together, their friendship and respect for one another was like my first introduction to like, that is how you love someone, with respect.
So walk me through really briefly, because I want to give them credit, and I hear what you're saying, and I love it because my parents are divorced and didn't do much of that. But your parents were married, had the two of you.
No.
Oh, they were married. Together. Had the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went on to have more.
Oh no, honey, no,
he had more
no,
before. Yeah, walk me through.
No.
Who's she really babysitting?
Oh Lord, my daddy gonna be so mad. Bro.
Okay, then skip it. Don't worry about it.
I mean, there's really no way to tell. I mean, that it already happened. It's happened. It's in the past, and there's no way to explain it because I have a brother. My two older sisters are 6 months apart, and me and my brother are 6 months apart. So it's pretty obvious what happened. But he was with my stepmom first. They lived in Atlanta. Then he went to Ohio State. He met my mom. Mind you, they were all young and in college. So keep in mind when I'm telling you this story. That's very important.
Young and in college.
Young and in college. So it makes sense. He moved to Ohio State. He met my mom, and then they fell in love, and he got her pregnant 6 months later. And then he was with my mom, and then I think they broke up, or maybe she didn't know they broke up. Then he kind of was just going between my mom and my stepmom at the same time for a time. So then he got my mom pregnant with me, and then he had a baby with my stepmom. And so there's like 4 of us who are all 6 months apart, but 2 years apart by 2 different women. I think that is important to share because when you hear that dynamic and think about someone being 21, 22 years old dealing with that, that's dramatic and traumatic as well for both parties. Him and my mom found out, like she just was like, I don't want to do this. So her and my dad were no more. And then he married my stepmom, and they've been married for 20, how old am I? Well, it don't matter how old I am, but they've been married basically as long as I've been alive. And then they went on to have 6 more children together because my stepmom had 8 kids. Yeah.
Okay.
And then my mom already had a son, my older brother. And then 6 years later, after I was born, she had my little brother with someone else. So that was the dynamic. It was like very intense. And, now that I'm older, when I talk to them, they tell me about like all the drama that happened and and I'm like, that's just so crazy because none of us felt that. Like we just felt love. And my mom would make me call my dad and ask him stuff. And I would be so mad, like, that nigga don't even live here. Like, why do I have to ask him? He is not here. But that actually set the tone of me respecting my father and just showing how my mom never said one bad word about my dad. Like, I didn't even know what happened until I got older because I asked them, like, why aren't you two together? They have, like, the best friendship or relationship. And they were like, oh, we're like that because we're not together. That's why it works this way because it's just better this way for us. But my dad told me, like, I made some mistakes and he took ownership of it, which is why I really respect my dad. He never has ever badmouthed my mom or my stepmom. He just took complete ownership. Like, I was young, I liked them both, and I just didn't know how to decide, And even that is like when you're an adult, you realize that's a real thing that can happen. And being 21 with children, that's like, who makes the right decisions when you're 21? Nobody.
And so that's why I wanted to shine a light on it too, because it is complicated, but like that's life. And for them to find a way to love, respect each other. And then for y'all, age. Right. Look, for people to do that at 50.
Because I ain't about to do that now.
But then for you guys to only feel the love, you know what I mean? Like, that's huge. Like, that's not a small thing. No, okay. Huge. Well, I love that. I do. So I want to jump into our topic. You and I have talked very little, but with much respect and love, about the fact that you lost your sister and I've lost my dad.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that's kind of unspoken because we're like, I feel you. Whatever you feel about it, whatever you say about it is enough for me. But, you said the other day that it's important, to have conversations about loss and about grief, because these things happen to us at whatever point they happen and they don't go away. You know what I mean? Like we're all out here just trying to figure out how to get through it. And there's no one way.
Right.
And I totally agree. And so I was like, well, let's get it. There's a lot that we haven't talked about because also we became friends after the fact.
Exactly.
So there's a lot that we haven't talked about. And so I just want to let's have that conversation as friends.
Let's do it.
And so to that end, this is just as much your conversation as it is mine. So tell me about your sister.
So this is the only sibling that I share the same mother and father with. Oh my God, I'm about to cry already. Oh, What is happening?
Girl, I'm ready for it.
Suck it in. No, not yet.
It's a safe space because I love you.
Jesus. Oh my God. Anyway, I have no idea. I'm very hormonal. Me and my sister are 2 years apart, and God.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's so weird because she died in 2007, and it's like it just the pain or like just doesn't go away. But that really was my first best friend. We shared a room together. We were inseparable. We're so polar opposites. I'm so like type A and organized and clean and a neat freak and just like antsy. And she was so carefree and laid back and chill and like she just did whatever she wanted. And that's one of the things that I admire about her so much. Like she got pregnant in college. It was like, I'm going to summer school. I'm graduating on time. She was an AKA. She's like, I want to join a sorority. She graduated from college. She got this great job. She had great grades. Like she was just like a great human being, so beautiful and just fun. And I've never met anyone that didn't like her. Like every time that I meet someone that knew my sister, I'll literally have people just reach out to me even now. Like, I just want to tell you that I miss your sister. Like she was so great. And that just really like makes me feel so good. When she was, like I said, my best friend, we lived in Columbus, Ohio, but she went to school in Virginia and she passed away in Atlanta. So after she graduated from college, she got a job as an interpreter for Enterprise. Because my family, I'm the only one that is not bilingual. Everyone in my family can speak Spanish and English because of my mom. So she got a job doing that. And even my brother, he got a job in the Air Force to be an interpreter. So anyway, that's the job that she got. She had a 3-year-old son and he was 3 when she passed away. She had just dropped him off at daycare. She was on the freeway and there was like this flatbed truck in front of her that had roofing equipment on it and they didn't secure it down. So it was just falling and, she tried to swerve and she couldn't and she died instantly. It's just something that's like really, I don't want to say over it, but it's something that's just stuck with me, because I have like anxiety about cars and this unhealthy anxiety whenever Chea leaves, my husband leaves, because I'm always like paranoid. Is he going to get in a car accident? Is something going to happen? And so that's something that consistently has stuck with me from her passing is just like, I don't know how to relax, I guess, because I'm always fearful of death. And that's something that I really hate. And I've gone to therapy about it, but it just, I don't know. It's something that's really hard, to get over.
Do you feel like you are consciously, proactively working to address that as much as you can?
I mean, now I am, yes. Before I didn't, it's weird. I talk about this all the time, whether it's death or not, how we live with traumas and we live with things that we adapt as a part of our personality that we don't even realize. We want to take ownership over them. Like, oh, I'm just scared of this, or I have arachnophobia, or I'm scared of heights. That's all rooted in something. Like, why? Right. And so I had to really address, listen, when I'm a compartmentalizer, when something happens, I really move on from it quickly or try to, because I don't really like to sit in things. When my sister passed away, my parents were really having a hard time dealing with it. So I picked out her casket. I picked her clothes for her. I wrote the eulogy. I read at her funeral, I did a lot and I was only 22 years old. She was 24. So that was like an intense situation where I don't think that I was able to even mourn her because I took on like a parental role and I was really just handling everything and making sure everyone was okay. I would say it wasn't even until me and Chea were like together for 3 years that I realized a lot of my anger and stuff were rooted in her death. And that's because we went to therapy. I had to realize that stuff that I thought was who I am was really from me grieving my sister. So now I am addressing it slowly, but I mean, I've had to unlearn patterns and things that I've took ownership over as if they belong to me. Like, I just have these fears. I always say I have anxiety, but why? Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
All right, we're going to pause it right there because there is something that I absolutely have to talk about. Our friends over at Shea Moisture Men are doing something really cool to highlight Black fathers that has me feeling some type of way, y'all. Look, you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to this.
Shea Moisture Men is committed to celebrating dads daily. As a part of lifting their voices, we created a father's lullaby called Light Inside of You. This lullaby is for us, by us. It is our way of creating our own generational tradition to be passed down father to father. We want to share the voice of love, tenderness, and joy, and hope that Black dads already share with their babies and with the entire world. Let's normalize and celebrate Black love in the form of a father's lullaby, our story, our song. The world needs to see and hear the love of Black fathers. Go to SheaMoisture.com/men or Shea Moisture Men on IG and listen to a father's lullaby, and then challenge a Black dad to share his story, his song, by singing the lullaby to his babies and posting it by using the hashtag #AFathersLullaby.
Did y'all get that? Shea Moisture Men over here being all about Black love. All right, Black dads, I need you to go over to Shea Moisture Men on IG. That's Shea Moisture, SHEA, moisture like y'all know. Shea Moisture Men on IG, and share your lullabies. And for all the mamas listening, get the fathers in your life in on this beautiful expression of Black love.
My turn. So my father passed away from prostate cancer in 2013, and I was 29. So backstory, my parents, got divorced when I was like 11. My sister graduated high school, and so went to Hampton. So when I was 12, so a lot happened in a short period in terms of like my life, like uprooting. I really don't remember my parents together. Like I don't remember specifics about my parents together. I just know that they were, and I did not think it was a problem. Right. So
right.
Get separated. They get divorced. He moves into an apartment, I think at the time. And my sister goes to college, and suddenly I am, shuttling between mom and dad's house. Kind of like, why I got to do this? And I don't know y'all like that, trying to be preteen or whatever.
Right.
I would say what feels now like very quickly, I don't really remember, but the way I remember it and view it is that I feel very fortunate that I got to spend so much one-on-one time with my parents. Ultimately, like we, while they were going through a huge transition, and that wasn't like overnight. It wasn't like, oh, the first year. No, I mean, I think everybody was growing up during that time. And my mom, I think, adjusted better. I think that my dad, so here's the thing also, I found out in this time that my dad was an alcoholic. So my dad's a doctor. He had his own practice. He also was delivering babies. At that time, he was doing rounds of hospitals. And so I find out after they get separated that he's an alcoholic and he's gone to rehab. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Man, this is confusing. Who are y'all talking about? So there was just a lot of newness. And so that time spent with them, he is also now newly sober, right? Going through Alcoholics Anonymous, those sorts of things. Again, I can't tell you that there was some dramatic difference in him as a person as it relates to me. My mama got stories,
right?
But that's not my experience of it. But obviously he's going through this transition, right? Of things he almost lost, things he did lose, like his marriage. And he is just trying to, figure out what's, he's trying to date, whatever. So we just, over that time, and not right away, we just got very close. Not even close. See, here we go. Close from the standpoint of, I just got to understand my parents as people,
Yep.
I'm really big on like, we look at our parents as like the people who buy us things and do things for us and discipline us, and like they love on us, and that's cool. But like I had to see my parents' flaws when I was like 12,
Right. Like our whole person.
And so I just got that. I got that with him. And he has even said that like I saved him, just having to be there with and for me, while there was no wife and while my sister's far away, he said that. And so we just had a special relationship. So at some point he ends up marrying this woman that we all hate, which unfortunately plays into this story. My dad, again, is a doctor. He got prostate cancer in 2010. And from then on there were a lot of highs and lows. It was like stage 4 at that point. There were a lot of highs and lows in terms of what was the expected outcome. And then many of those lows being this terrible woman who kind of wanted to make it all about her. So it was just a really difficult time. And make no mistake, like our relationship's our relationship. And so we were able to have special moments, but it was strained. I feel like, trying to make a long story short, I had an opportunity to prepare myself. You know what I mean? Like we knew what was possible. And we went through many, like he has 6 months. And when I say many, I mean, it was altogether 3 years.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, he has 6 months. He has this problem. He has that problem. And most of the time, and he's still going to work every day. Like he's just that person, or he, you know, he's committed to other people. He's committed to what he did, which was to serve others. So anyway, all of those highs and lows. And when he ultimately passed, I was home. I was able to be home because we were told, you know, at some point that he wouldn't make it through the night. And I think it was maybe 3 or 4 days from that point. So I left LA and went home. But it was a period of change in my life. Like so many things, like you were saying, that either you think are just a part of you or you think are just events. Like, and then I took this job, and then I went on this trip, and then you're like, oh, I took that job. You know, for example, for me, like I changed sort of my career path at the time so that I could have more stability, so that I could go home more, you know, and I made a lot of sacrifices. Anyway, so for me, it's like it's a juggle between that instant the instant I've lost someone, and the 3 years of preparation and the trauma of that. And so when it happened, like I felt like I was prepared.
Right.
But then I look back and I remember, well, I did this and I did that and I changed that, and that changed this relationship, and that changed this outcome. And so I all of that on top of just the ultimate, like, okay, he's not here. And we knew that this was going to happen. And I would say the biggest thing that I feel, that you probably feel, maybe, you know, or that I felt right away and still do, is like a piece of me is missing.
Yes.
And, you know, people have explained that too as like, you know, the people who love you unconditionally, like when they're gone, that's how you feel. And maybe that's a part of it. You know, sometimes I think it's because, like, you know, I came from these two people, right?
That's what I was going to say. That is your father, right?
It's like, if I'm made up of parts, like he is part and he is not here.
I always say that losing someone of that magnitude, like a sibling, a spouse, a child, or a parent, it's like losing a limb.
Right.
So it's like you learn to live without it. But if your whole arm fell off, there's not a day that you're going to wake up and not realize that your arm is missing. But then in that moment, it's like, do I sit here and cry about it all day, or do I get up and figure out how to live without this arm? And that's literally what grief is. Like, some people choose to sit and cry about it all day, and it takes them longer. Other people are like, all right, I got to go. Like, got to figure out how to do this with only one arm. And that, I mean, everyone's journey is different, but you're never, if you lose a leg or arm or something, there's not a day that's ever going to go by there you don't realize it's missing. And there's some days that are easier, but then there's something that happens that makes it harder. Like, you lost your father, you get married, you have children. He's not a part of those moments. So people think that loss is like momentary and then you get over it. But no, there's so many other things. The more you live, the more it hurts, because they're not there for those moments. And it sometimes makes it even harder. Like, it's hard being left behind. That's how I feel, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's hard to explain to people who like love you and want to be there sometimes what those moments are. Like, I know one very specific one for me is I cannot watch nobody's father-daughter dance at a wedding. Like, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom now. Like, that's one of the very specific things that I just can't do it. I love you to death. So happy for you. I'm going to the bathroom on that.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. There was literally a father-daughter dance challenge going on Instagram too. We were like, all posted. I'm glad you did. I am glad you did. But it's funny that you say that too, because for me, having children, so my sister died, and almost an exact year later, I had Amira, and they have their freakish birthdays. Like, my sister's birthday was 12/3, Amira's is 3/12. And I always am creeped out by that. Like, it's definitely some weird omen. I was supposed to have Amira in February. I had her in March. Like, I was 2 weeks late. So I'm always like, it is very creepy. And I always felt like so this is just going on to a more spiritual, like I wanted to dream about my sister so much. And when she died, it was the day, so I moved to New York. After my sister died, probably like 3 or 4 months later, I moved to New York because I was just like, I'm going to go follow my dream. The last conversation that we had, because we were really best friends. So that's the thing that fuels me, is that every conversation that we had was amazing. And like a best friend, like we laughed and talked I talked to her every single day of my life, like until she died, for 22 years, every single day. Like she would call me at work and be like, I just wanted to say hi. Okay, I gotta go. He's coming. Like if her supervisor or somebody was calling, but she and I talked like 10 times a day. So the last conversation we had was at night, and she was really sad and stressed out because of her situation. And she just was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because she was in an abusive relationship. And so she really was trying to figure out how to exit that. But she was like so adamant that she wanted her son to be in her father's life. And, so we were going back and forth with that, because I'm all like, well, if he ain't good to you, he ain't good to his kids. I don't care. Like, um, and she just was like, you know what, Ashley, I love you so much. And she was like, you're so talented. And she was like, you always are like, I want to write this. And she was like, just write it, write that book. She was like, you need to go to New York. She's like, you want to dance and you want to write, you need to be in New York. She's like, you need to go follow your dreams, go audition for A-Lee, go write that movie. She was also a writer. When we were little, we always used to say we were going to be Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen. That was like those were our idol sisters. Because I was like dancing a lot, and she really wanted to be an actress. So she was just like, just go do it. And that's one of the things that fueled me, because I told her like I was so proud of her, and no matter what, I would support her, and I had her back. That was the last conversation that we had. It was very beautiful. And I just remember like, I was like, I have to go. So I moved to New York, and I think that changed my life. But it was the night before I moved, I was laying on the couch and I was just crying, because I never dreamed about her, like ever. And it would make me upset. And this is like, I don't know, some people will believe it, some people won't, but I feel like she came to me like physically. Like I was asleep on the couch, and it was raining, and all of a sudden, like it stopped raining, the sun came out, and I felt like I felt something above me. And like when you're trying to wake up, like you feel like you're in a dream, but you woke up, but you're still dreaming. That's how I felt like. Yes. I felt her over top of me, and I kept trying to wake up because I wanted to see her, but I couldn't wake up. And then when I did, she was gone. And it was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that moment let me know like she was there for me. And honestly, I've only dreamed about her 4 times since she's been gone. But I also feel like it's her gift to me, because it makes me super depressed when I wake up. Like I'm so sad that like I feel like she knows that I don't need that to move forward and to have like a good life. But she sent me my daughter, and my 2 youngest daughters now remind me of her and I. And sometimes it makes me super sad, because I'm just like him. Like I know how happy they are right now and what they have. And I used to have that, and I'll never have it again. But then I'm super happy for them, because I'm like, they get to experience the love that I did. And I have other siblings, and it's not to negate my relationship with them, because I always feel bad when I say that. But it's different. We were the only 2 that shared the same mother and daughter. I shared the same room with her until she went away to college. Like it was just a different relationship.
Right. She was a part of you in that way.
Yeah.
Every day, all the time.
Like we shared the same physical, scientific data, like,
yeah.
She's just my person.
Yeah.
But it's funny, because I met you a year after she passed away, not a year after she passed away, but a year after shortly after we moved to LA. And when we moved, I was telling Chea, like, I don't want to move, because like I was stuck being in the presence of my mom and other people that constantly reminded me of her. But as soon as I moved, like I met so many amazing women that reminded me of my sister. And it was something about you that when I said your smile, like my sister had the most amazing smile. Like she just was that type of person who would walk in a room and you felt like you knew her and you wanted to be around her. And that's the same energy that I get from you. So I feel like she's given me a bunch of different people to kind of like, make up for the fact that she's gone.
Girl, I hear you. Okay, so how what do you say to your kids about her and when? Do you remember like the first time you talked to Amira about her?
Yeah. So I have pictures of her. We have an ofrenda. We keep up photos, and it's just super important to me. But I talk about her so much that Amira, for a minute, forgot that she had never met her. Like, she was like, "But didn't I meet?" I was like, "No, girl, you never met her, or maybe you did in
Right.
passing. I don't know." But I just everything. I talk about my sister so much, just anytime
Mhm.
something comes up, and I'll be like, but first of all, when my daughter looks so much like my sister, it's very weird. So her
Mhm.
baby pictures when she was little, everyone was like, "You gave birth to your sister." And then
That's
she
amazing.
acts just like her, which is a good and bad thing because she has all of her good. And all, I'm just like, I sometimes feel like God was not paying attention when my sister died. He was like, "Oh shit, I gotta hurry up and like put her back."
Oh
Like, "Oops,
gosh.
my bad." Delete.
Oh.
But she just really has so much of her that I think that I don't even remember the first time I talked about her, but I just talk
Yeah.
about her so much that it doesn't even matter. Like everything, I always bring her up, you know?
Yeah. Are you someone who talks about heaven? Like, did you tell her that? Like, what do you say about that part?
I don't know. I, was raised very Christian and very Muslim, which makes no
Right.
sense. But I spent a lot of time in a mosque and in church, and I don't know what I believe anymore. That's just the honest to God truth. I
Mhm.
don't know what I believe about heaven and hell and the extent of it and what it looks
Mhm.
like. I
Mhm.
do believe that heaven and hell is on earth, and that it is a mental thing for me. I feel like a lot of times we can make ourselves live in heaven or make ourselves live in hell. Do you know what I mean? Like by the way we
Sure.
live and our
Yeah.
mentality and how
Yeah.
we interpret things. So for her, because I think I believe in reincarnation. I do. I never
Oh,
really
okay.
believed in
Okay.
it before, but now that I've had this experience with my daughter, I feel like spirits return. And a
Yeah.
lot of my friends, how you lost your dad and you had three boys, right? My cousin Nalo and her husband both lost their dads, and their first child was a boy. And that like kept happening with a lot of my friends and
Mhm.
lost like,
Mm.
so I don't know. I sometimes feel like the spirits return in a different way. So I
Right.
don't ever really talk about her being in heaven because I'm always like, dude, you are acting just like my sister today, or you have so much of her energy that it's more like
Yeah.
it's still existing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Just in a different form. So I don't know. I don't really talk about that.
My oldest is 3 and the twins are 1.5. So the twins, we ain't talking about much. Um,
Cookies.
right. But with Brooks, he's super inquisitive. I always wanted him to them ultimately, but I always want
Right.
my kids to like be aware of who their family is. I want him
Mm-hmm.
to know about my dad, but I didn't exactly know how to do it. Well, that's not true. I'm really big on family trees, and I wanted him to get a grasp of like what's a grandmother and a father and a sister and a brother, like what are all these things, and then we would create a
Right.
tree, and he could see the people, and he would get it right.
Right.
And so that was my plan. And he does get all the things, and I'm ready to do the tree, but he does say like, "Where's my granddad? Where's my granddad?" Right?
Aww.
And for a while, I was like, Texas.
He was lying to the
I mean,
chat.
I didn't lie. He's buried in Texas, right? Um,
Okay. Okay.
and there was no he. It made sense at the time to just say
Right.
that, right? But he would say where he did, and so that's the
Mm.
answer. So I started with Texas, right? And now that he is more familiar with death, but I mean, as a concept, like in movies and books, right? Like he's reading
Okay.
like superhero stuff. So like
Right.
sometimes, the bad guy dies, right? We
Mm-hmm.
watched Coco. Like, so now I'm like, okay,
Coco's such a good movie to talk to someone about loss. Like, it's such a good
right.
movie.
And
Yeah.
so I'm trying to like explain it in those terms, like, when they took the bridge and they went to the other place, that's,
Right.
where your granddad is, right? So yeah, that's a struggle though, because
Yeah.
I don't want to introduce, because there's death and then there's like, where is he? Right. There's two concepts. There's like
Mm.
loss, like the fact that he's not here for you to see and play with and call. Then
Right.
there's like, okay, well then where is he? Right. Then there's that explanation. But then there's also, so the third thing is just like knowing who he is, who he was,
Mm-hmm.
like knowing about him. And so I say there we're in good shape. Like Brooks knows his full name. He knows he was a doctor. Like he loves the fact, like he loves that his name is Brooks. And that, you know, he shares that. That's my maiden name. So he shares that with like so many people, including my dad. I'm like, Clarence Jackson Brooks. They call him Jackie. Oh, Brooks like me. Like he is like my granddad, Jackie. Like I love that he knows all of that. But it is a struggle sort of trying to figure out how do I explain the where and all of that without giving him some sort of complex about, well, how he get there? What you mean? You know?
Not how he get there.
Right, all of that. Not ready. And he asks a lot of questions.
But you know what? So my parenting approach is I feel like you know your child. Brooks is extremely intelligent. He has an intelligence level that is beyond his years. So I think that it is actually beneficial for you to just tell him the truth. Because he reminds me of Amira. That's how Amira was. As a child, she just caught on to things. She's very emotionally aware of other people's feelings. And we've always told her the truth. I mean, she was like 5 when she asked me where babies come from. And I told her the truth.
Oh,
just because I felt like, but it's just science.
Morning. Well, I slipped up the other day and said something about we made you, right? And now I've made this into this, like, we crafted you, you know, and made you, you know, perfect. But this morning, this boy, because he gets in our bed every day, this morning he climbs in the bed and he's like, Mommy, how did you and Daddy make me? Girl, he be asking.
Did you tell him the truth?
No. I mean, look, we're not far off. We're not far off.
You can just say,
I'm going to tell
sperm in my egg and fertilizer. Get a plant.
I'm going to get there.
That's a good way to show. Get him a plant and show him.
He's going to be like, where the sperm though? He's going to start asking. So, but no, I was like, I just keep using the word "may." He's like, how did you make me? And I was like, well, we just, you know, made you from all the amazing things that we have. We just made you, you know. So we'll get there. We're not far off.
Not a clay project.
I got it. He is a clay project right now, for sure. So yeah, that's where we are. We are with that. Well, pretty soon. Lord,
you're getting there. He's so smart. That's funny. I love it.
Oh my goodness.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
How has the loss of your father, do you feel like it has manifested in your relationships with men or even how you chose your partner? Do you feel like that is a reflection of that?
So that's a whole nother can of worms because I met Tommy 1 month after my dad passed.
Oh, wow.
1 month, almost to the day. It was like the day after. So there was no like partners, right? There was no like, oh, my choices have to do with it, you know? Never that, except for the fact that he does look like my dad in a lot of ways. I didn't notice, okay? Brought him home for Christmas and everybody was like, oh my God, you know? And
that is interesting.
Yes. So that part. And I see it now. Like I see older pictures of my dad, like with the full beard and mustache. And I'm like, okay, I understand. So, you know, who knows whether that played a role. I mean, Tommy's handsome, right? Like, what am I supposed to ignore that?
Girl,
so, but, and then I say also that to say that I did not consider myself in like a fragile place when I met Tommy. Like, obviously there was a heightened level of sensitivity because it just happened. Like he wasn't there. He wasn't there to tell these stories. And as in my dad, he wasn't there to say, look, I met, you know, and my dad was very big on like, he wanted me to get married. Like it was like a running joke. I was like, you just trying to set me up with anybody. He wanted that. And so it was very sad to like meet someone that like was, you know, in those early months, like likely the guy, and my dad was gone. So it's that part is just, it's interesting because it plays even to this day that I know there are a lot of things that we talked about and didn't talk about in those early days, early months, whatever, and a lot of ways that we interacted with each other that I think now we're sort of undoing, like, oh, you were like, you know, as we said earlier, Tommy's like very direct and like, but at that time, I don't think he maintains like, I am who I am every day forever. I'm like, no, I think you were nicer to me then.
No,
you know,
I don't agree with that. I think that
we had just met,
but see, that's the thing. I believe him. I think that people, we see what we want of people and we interpret things how we want of people. I have been the same way since I met Chea. There's no way in the world that he could tell me that I was not this person. But I think the directness is being used in different areas that make him uncomfortable. Sure. Whereas before, my directness was cool because I was using it for other things.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think Tommy may have been that way, but he wasn't dealing with you as a mother of his children. He was dealing with you. Come on, sis.
I'm about to write this down.
Dribble it on you. He wasn't dealing with you in the aspects. That's the thing too. In relationships, we grow. We're not. Right. We have different needs as we get older, and that's right. You literally have to sometimes sit down with your partner. Like I recently sat down with Chea and said, I don't know what's happening in my life right now. I've never been a cuddler. I've never been a hand holder. That's not the girl that I am. And I was like, I am craving so much physical attention from you that I need you to do these things, because I've had to actually ask him, because that's not something I ever required of him. So now it's like, I need you to be more gentle with me. I need you to hold my hand more. I need you to just come up from behind me and hug me, because I don't know why, but I need that now. And so I think with Tommy, he's always been direct. Maybe you just don't need that now in whatever space you're in your life, where before it didn't matter. You've had 3 kids and you're working a lot, and we're in a pandemic and everything's crazy. So, your heart could be more delicate. Even though you had just lost your father, it's still different. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I was definitely delicate, but like ready to meet someone. You know what I mean? Like I knew that.
Was your dad similar to Tommy? Was he bold and outspoken and forward?
No, he was not all of those things similar to Tommy. My dad was not, I wouldn't say he's not outspoken. Like he says what's on his mind, but he's a little bit more thoughtful and sensitive than Tommy. Yeah, he'll be pretty direct, but if he hurts your feelings, he's gonna be like, "Oh, sorry,"
Right.
So he's but
he's also your dad, and this was your meeting your dad in his older ages. So there's that.
True.
If you asked your mom that, would she say the same thing?
Oh no, I'll ask her.
See what I'm saying?
But they are definitely similar in that they're both like very intelligent, like love books. Value education and like our community, Black people. So they're very similar in those ways and super committed to fatherhood. So very, very similar in those ways. But yeah, girl, it's still a process. You're right. Figuring out like, I guess it's not about undoing the interactions or the understanding that we had of each other at that time. It's just about understanding where we are now.
Right.
And I'll give him credit for being exactly who he was from day one. Because I have shifted and I know that. But yeah,
it's okay to shift together.
I'm glad that we did this, because you and I had not talked about all of this. And you had said that like, you never talk about your dad. So I wanted
You don't.
I do. It makes me cry, Good. And I don't always want to do that. And so
you should.
I love my dad. I very seldom talk about him in the past tense. I am so much of who I am is because of him, and as personally, professionally, everything. And it's just hard. It's just hard. Yeah. It feels unfair. Obviously, you relate to that for sure. I mean, perfectly healthy person otherwise. But I'm glad that we did this, and now we can continue to do it. And hopefully it, as we talked about, is a reminder that no matter where you are in your life, your career, like we all have these moments that change us. We're waking up every day with these scars, I guess, or with these holes that won't ever be filled. And we figure out how to navigate that and how to honor those people that we love and that mean a lot to us while thriving.
Yes.
So one question as a wrap up, what does your joy look like today?
Ooh, that's interesting. I would say that my joy looks like, it's just, I don't know how to say it properly, but I can say this. Before the pandemic, I really focused a lot on my family. Like that has always been the most important thing to me. Sometimes to my detriment, because I'm like, I need to focus on my career, But I genuinely love my children so much, and my husband, like he really is my best friend. I just want to be with him every day and be around him. Like I never get tired of Chea. So My joy has always been that I've always felt like, and maybe this is because I lost my sister, like I would be sad if I never accomplished certain goals, but I feel so blessed to have the family that I have, because I feel like that's really the only thing that matters at the end of the day. Like, look at Michael Jackson. Nobody even is thinking about him anymore. Like, you could be the greatest at something. People move on from it. Well, they are, but not in the most positive way. But people move on from that, though. Yeah, like, and people think that that matters so much. And I'm like, no, it doesn't, because someone else is going to come behind you, and talent is fleeting. Everybody has a talent, and you can be replaced. But my kids with your father, that cannot be replaced. Like, I cannot be replaced in my home, and they can't. And so I feel like that is the most valuable thing that I own. So my joy is in that. And during this pandemic, it just like furthered what I knew was true. Like, when everything's gone and people are losing their jobs, and when you look around and you're like, damn, man, I'm going through this, but I have someone who like really loves me and really has my back. And even if we have to live in a bus or in a house or in an apartment, like, we have each other, and I genuinely like him, and I genuinely love my kids. So my joy is just knowing that I feel internally blessed, and I just want to protect that as much as I can, because I know that it is truly a gift to have that in my life.
And to your point about Michael Jackson or people like that, celebs and stuff, and us talking about Coco, it's like, it's not the number of people who remember you and who think they know your legacy, right? It's the people who actually do know who you are and what you're made of, that you have an imprint on, that when you're not here, will continue telling your story.
Yes. So you want to make sure that you leave a positive imprint. Like with my sister, everyone knows about my sister. Like, I talk about her all the time on Instagram, everywhere. And I feel so good that people that don't even know me are like, I know how much you love your sister. Like, that makes me feel so good, because I feel like her memory is living on forever.
Yeah.
And she would be happy. Like, yes, they better know that I'm your best friend first. And I know she's smiling like, yes.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel really, really good.
Yeah. All right, girl. Well, get back to your family.
I will. Love you, boo. Bye.
Whew. I hope that was as cathartic for you as it was for me. Look, being vulnerable about grief isn't easy, even when you are close to someone. And the way that Ashley navigates it with light and love is just one of the many reasons that she is my BFF. So make sure y'all show her some love on her Instagram at Watermelon Egg Rolls, and check out her website, watermeloneggrolls.com, and just learn all that Ashley has to give. Thanks for joining me on My New BFF. Don't forget to give us a review so others can join us on this journey. And please don't forget to subscribe so you're the first to find out who will be my new BFF.